there. It's 22 degrees here in Abuja. A somewhat wet day. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Neota Igbe.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Magwa. I'm so glad this rain is,
What happened, Kayla?
Look, you know, it just kept raining and raining and raining. I was glad when it ended this morning.
Yeah.
So at least we can see the sun. I think that's the important thing for me right now.
Seeing the sun, right?
I just need the sun. I need to see the sun again.
Well,
I apologize to the sun for all the times I said it's too hot.
Okay.
No, I apologize. I need the sun now. Thank you.
Well, dear son, we would like to see you, but somewhat around the afternoon, it's likely to get up to 26 degrees. Right now it's about 22 degrees centigrade. But don't worry, we've enjoyed the heat for a while, and many of us have, it's so hot, it's so hot. But guess some other people who are enjoying the cool breeze, those around the River Niger.
Yeah. I'm done with this. I'm done with this weather. I'm done with it.
It's a beautiful scenery if you want to go along the River Niger Bridge. Beautiful, beautiful shots there from up there. Look at that bridge. Just look at that bridge. Yes, that's the bridge over the River Niger. You might say, is that the old one or the new one? Well, whichever way you want to look at it, this actually is the real bridge across the River Niger. It was built sometime in the 1950s or thereabout, but it's one of the earliest bridges. And then you have that aerial shot over the river. Beautiful scenery. And as I said earlier, those around here enjoy the cool breeze and the breeze that comes from the waters. My goodness. Don't you just want to be here at this point in time?
This is Niger State. It's a state that needs a lot of help.
How do you mean?
Security-wise. It's one of the biggest states in this country, Niger State. And it does need a lot of help. The governor there right now trying to do what he can to, help this security situation that is faced in Niger State. But still a lot needs to be done, especially when it comes to the human capital development in Niger State. Massive land, beautiful place, absolutely beautiful place, but a place that needs a lot of human capital development and a lot of infrastructure development as well. This bridge, like you stated earlier, one of the oldest ever, but a lot needs to be done. I like the fact that we do this every morning, where we bring up these things so people can see our country and see what needs to be done. But there, River Niger, legendary river.
The scenery is just beautiful, and the government on ground at this point talk about agribusiness. That his focus is agriculture, according to him, to feed the nation. Despite the security challenges that there might be, he's focused and he's good to go. But what we want you to see is this beautiful scenery. And honestly, Kayla, I just want to go on this trip right now. I feel like was flying over the place. But
why is everyone trying to go somewhere?
Don't you just want to see the scenes around Nigeria? And, oh boy, talking about scenes around Nigeria, yesterday we heard from the Nigeria NNPC Limited talking about some of the things that they're having to deal with and telling us how they've not paid subsidies in the last 5 to 8 years. I think that's what the chief financial officer, who should know, says. And so if you want to tie that with this, you hear from the government in Niger State about all that they're doing, and you're seeking clarity. Who else? Who's the best person to give you clarity, if not the one who's in charge? That's the governor. And in this case here, beautiful scenery there.
Yeah. Well, that's our skyline this morning, the beautiful River Niger, the main river of West Africa.
Yeah, runs all the way from Niger all the way down and feeds quite into a lot of other streams and rivers across the country. It's a beautiful place to visit and a beautiful place to be. I mentioned something earlier, and I don't know if our producers can help us. Let's hear that sound bite from the Chief Financial Officer at the NNPC Limited, talking about or seeking to clarify rumors about payment of subsidy. He says they have not paid any subsidy to any.
While we get that,
let's
see if we can get that right now.
I think there is one fact that I need to make very clear, that in the last 8 or 9 years, this company, even corporation as it were, has not paid anybody a dime or 1 naira as subsidy. No one has been paid kobo by NNPC as in the name of subsidy. That means no marketer has received money from us by way of subsidy. What has been happening is that we've been importing PMS, landing at a certain price, at a cost price, and government is telling us to sell it at half price. So the delta between that landed price and the half price is what we call shortfall, or call it subsidy. And the deal is between Federation and ourselves to reconcile, and sometimes they give us money, sometimes we do net ups. So there is no money exchanging hands to any marketer or anybody in the name of subsidy.
I mean, that clarification became necessary because of a lot of conversations. When we look at the landing cost and we look at what we're buying at the till, it was obvious that there was some gap. And that was what gave rise to everyone thinking that there's some kind of subsidy being paid. And the federal government has been under fire, because if you're saying that you've removed fuel subsidy, then how do you explain this gap? And the NNPC Limited, they're explaining that they haven't paid any subsidies to any marketers so far. That also ties to a conversation that we had right here on Channels Television not too long ago, where the Minister of Budget was talking about, you know, we actually asked him if he had received anybody, if the federal accounts had received any payments from the NNPC, and he said he didn't know. So that particular question, you know, raised a lot of dust about where this bridge is, where's this gap coming from? And you've heard that explanation there from the NNPC. Is it one that Nigerians will be satisfied with?
Well, if, as someone said some time back, said, when you're not speaking, you leave room for speculation. Recently, they released their audited reports, and I'm sure in the course of our program, we'll get to look at that. Not today, though. We'll get to look at that audited report and see exactly what it is that they're auditing, what is there. Because the questions on the minds of Nigerians, and someone said Nigerians are easily led, in the sense that just give the basic things that Nigerians need, and they won't bother you. So Nigerians are asking, why are the queues here? Why are we paying so much for PMS, yet we're not seeing the PMS? We were told that when subsidy is removed, there will be petrol
available.
Yes. Now, we're not having that. On the news yesterday, at the news at 10, we had the Chief Financial Officer of the NNPC Limited talk about the fact that the Port Harcourt Refinery is going to be rolling out PMS this month of September. Interesting times ahead of us. If that will take out the queues and ensure that there is petrol across the country and Nigerians willing to pay whatever it is just to get this product. So the question here, Kayla, is how much of clarity is there? Who's clarifying what? Who would believe? Especially when the people that need to speak are not speaking when they should. What happens is you leave room for speculation. So he's spoken about the fact that, oh, they paid here, they didn't pay monies to anybody. It was just between NNPC Limited and the government, yes, not the marketers. So nobody's getting subsidies in the last 8 to 9 years. That's interesting. It's really interesting. Can the marketers come and tell us exactly what's going on? Someone said the petroleum industry in Nigeria is the darkest. It is. Sector.
It's really dark. It's not even murky anymore. It's just dark because you have no idea what's going on. We're watching the NNDPRA not too long ago, the regulators of this sector, and they were talking to people who own petrol stations, stop selling in jerry cans. But there are filling stations, one that me and you know of at least, where they only sell petrol to black marketers. If you go to that particular filling station, I want to call their name so badly, but we can't. So if you go to that particular filling station, it's only black marketers you see in front of the filling station. You can't even drive in to buy. And we see this situation going on across the nation's capital at least. You will see a filling station locked, but everyone is with jerry cans in front of those filling stations selling product that we cannot trust. Consumer protection has to come into this. The regulators need to, and then DPRA has to become more effective. I see them
not just the bark, but the bite.
Yes, do some biting, because there's a lot of barking. Don't do this, don't do this. But they're still doing it. They say, okay, sir, we are sorry. And the moment you're gone, they're doing it again. The regulators, the federal government, consumer protection, everyone has to come into this matter to see how we can make sure this product is available and the Nigerian is protected. There's a lot of stories going on right now. Because a lot of filling stations are closed, there's a story going around the FCT right now that you can actually stop to buy fuel from a black marketer and get stabbed and get robbed. We're seeing stories like that. And that is apart from the fact that you're not sure of the products that you're buying. Some person can fill this thing with water. And because you have no filling stations to buy from, you have no choice but to buy from this person. It is abysmal. It is embarrassing. This sector's regulation has to be focused on for a while, and then we need to see this product being available to the Nigerian. The drama is too much, and we are done with it.
As Kayla says, we are done with it. Can the NMDPRA come out and speak and clarify so we don't have room for speculations? Clarity is needed here, but above all, let the product be available today, possibly today, between the government and the sole importer of the product, at least until the refineries begin to roll out their products. But let's leave all of that and go to what is happening today.
Oh dear, it's a busy day in the nation's capital.
Oh boy.
It's a busy day in the nation's capital. I think it actually started yesterday when we saw a statement from the Inspector General of Police's office from asking that Mr. Joe Ajero, the the chairman of the president rather of the Nigeria Labour Congress, to come to this office here in Guzape, where, you know, and the states in connect a lot of investigations into a lot of things, including terrorism financing. And of course, you know, this is also tying back to that story of how they said the NLC secretariat was invaded by security operatives. Very quickly, the DSS said, this is not us. And then we heard
eventually the police
eventually said, yes, it was us. Someone ran into this place. We're trying to find out who the person is. There's a lot of investigations going on. So they say this is part of those investigations. What do you make of this whole situation, Delta?
Well, look, Kayla, I am not making anything of this situation. I just, as I keep saying, clarity. Let someone speak, not just speak at the people. We need to speak to the people. You need to clarify some things. So today, right now as we speak, there's a gathering of labor leaders at the NLC headquarters. Both the NEC meeting and later on a briefing, they'll have a press briefing. They'll brief the press about what they're doing. That's a footage.
Those are the visuals there
from some of the leaders of the organized labor gathering at their headquarters, including the president, who has been invited by the police to come and answer some questions. They say they're there for an emergency National Executive Council meeting, after which they would brief the press. Now, the summon order, the NLPC president that Kayla talked about, that invite to present himself for questioning by 10 a.m. today. That's in the next about 45 minutes or thereabout. He's supposed to be at the police to respond to that invite. But right now, they're having a meeting and they should be speaking to the press shortly.
There he is. Mr. Ajero has arrived at the NLC.
Arriving at the headquarters of the NLC. It's interesting times in Nigeria, but something else is happening today. That's on the business side. It said finding sustainable, how do you say that? Sustainable solution to petrol scarcity. Wasn't that the conversation we just had? Finding a sustainable solution to petrol scarcity. That is the focus on the business segment on Sunrise Daily this morning. Kayla, as you said earlier, interesting times in our country, interesting times in the news field, happenings everywhere. I mean, what is your opinion?
The running of this sector, really, I mean, I hate to flog it again, but the running of this sector, it's always, it should be embarrassing to regulators of this sector that every time we talk about your sector, it's about something going wrong. And it dates back. You will see pictures, videos in black and white. Same problem.
But you see, Kayla, the thing is, before the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act, which is supposed to guide the operations in this sector, people said there was no strong law to see to the effective operations in the petroleum sector. But that's supposed to have changed now with the PIA, hoping that that law can be interpreted and implemented as it's and enforced where need be. The regulators of this sector, please, will need to hear from you. Now, but you know what? Let's just go on and find out what the papers are saying in a moment. Stay with us.
These are the newspaper headlines this morning from the Nigerian Tribune. Crude oil sales in naira to Dangote and others begin October 1st. From The Guardian, states 600 billion right-of-way fees stall 90 power telecoms projects. More on that from the front page of The Guardian this morning. And of course, the Daily Independent, new presidential jet is 15 years old. Nigeria is a third user. For those who want more details on that, go get yourself a copy of the Daily Independent this morning. From the Daily Trust this morning, Kano Governor's Chief of Staff, Kwankwaso's nephew and others under probe. More of that from Daily Trust. Nigerian News Direct. NNPC Limited posts highest profit in 46 years, declaring 2.1 trillion naira dividend. More on that from page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. The New Telegraph, 5 years after Apex Court to hear CJN Onoren's suit, challenging his removal from office today. Page 4 of the New Telegraph has more of that story. In Business Day, criticism as Tinubu heads for France in newly acquired $100 million aircraft. You can get more of that from the Business Day this morning. And the Vanguard is leading with TSA. Fresh panic as federal government demands 50% of aviation agencies' revenue. The Vanguard leads with that today. And finally, from the Daily Times, Tinubu seeks stronger anti-corruption structures in West Africa to tackle graft. And those are the newspaper headlines this morning.
There you have it, what the papers are saying. Let's start out. I would like to look at what the Vanguard put out. TSA. Well, that's where the Vanguard's looking at. TSA, fresh panic as FG demands 50% of aviation agencies' revenue. There was some, I think a day or two ago, I understand that was actually reduced. The president gave an approval to a reduction of that deduction, what was being deducted from the aviation agency's revenue. Again, with this matter of clarity needs to be done. Someone has to speak about this thing. Lots of damage being done to aviation. That's ATSAN, one of the associations in that area. There's need to investigate these agencies' earnings. Nigeria's reputation may have been battered. That's an expert. Air transport not in danger. That's the minister clarifying that air transport is not in danger. Even in the face of this news headline, you need to go into the paper itself to find out. Many Nigerians are concerned, or air travelers across the country are concerned at the rising cost of air travel. Tickets appear to be rising per second. I mean, the cheapest air ticket now stands at about 80 to 90,000 when you are able to get it. And find out that some of the aircrafts are not even flying. Some of the airlines are not flying because of one reason or the other. Some of their aircrafts have gone for maintenance. Again, that talks about the need to build a maintenance facility here in the country. So a lot of conversations around the transport aviation sector. What is going on there? How is it that we're not getting, or we seem to be paying more for air travel when some will say we should be paying a little less? Again, I can't answer these questions. These are all questions that stories like this will get to raise. But the minister is saying the sector is not in trouble. It is fine. It's not in danger. It should be rest assured. So go to page 5 and get more on this story. Kayla.
I mean, the New Telegraph is what's doing it for me this morning. I think the New Telegraph is pretty packed today with Onoyen's story, which is an old story. And, you know, it just tells you the wheels grind really slowly, but surely, you know. So the New Telegraph, 5 years after Apex Court to hear CJN Onoren's suit challenging his removal from office today. We're looking out for that one. And if you open up to that paper, that's from page 4, by the way. But on page 2 of the same newspaper, ASU is giving a 21-day warning strike notice to the federal government. You can get more on that, how this recurring decimal continues to plague our educational sector and punish Nigeria's children. And then, of course, we're seeing this story, President Tinubu also leaving for France in this new presidential jet. All the drama and conversations around that there. And then fuel subsidy to hit 6.884 trillion naira by December. This report.
They just say they're not paying subsidy. They just say they're not paying.
The more you see, the less is clear to you. Well, you can get yourself a copy of the New Telegraph today, packed with a lot of the stories that are trending online, all the conversations and explanations right there from the New Telegraph. It's time for us to go on a short break. And when we come back, we'll keep up our conversation this morning right here on Sunrise Daily.
And our conversation today will start off with a look at the state of the nation with one who's been there and seen it all. If you listen carefully, you would have heard him do a short laugh there. But he's let me read you his biography. He's a founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy and a distinguished fellow of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us to welcome Professor Udenta. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you. What an age.
You did. It's been an age.
So I'm happy we are back again.
Some of us that went to the University of Nigeria would continue hearing the name Professor Udenta.
Thank you so much about that.
It's good to meet you again. So,
it's a pleasure.
I think in the course of this month or thereabouts, you had a press statement put out.
Yes.
And you were asking the president to do something different. Just walk us through that. What's that thinking, as in do something different?
Yes, I did put that statement, and I'm happy you have amplified the kernel of my thought, do something different. But before I even get into that, the meat of that piece and the shows I've done around it, let me preface this conversation, my entry, with a piece, another piece, written by another professor, Professor P.C. Jadive, in a paper called The News Chronicle. The title is intriguing. The storm clouds are gathering towards a totalitarian state. It's like a question. This is at the heart of our democratic project today. It's still a very delicate project we're managing from 1999. After long years, decades of military, hunter hegemony. So that question he posed is important. And I'd ask people who are listening to us or watching to go take a peep into that. The storm clouds are gathering towards a totalitarian state. And it gets right into the meat of this conversation, because it asks that painful question. Are we witnessing the decay or the composition of democratic ethos in Nigeria? Is the government becoming increasingly irritable because of contrarian views, because people want to express themselves in a robust manner? The way the same APC did 2013, 2014, that saw them through power in 2015. Today, while waiting for this, I was listening to the earlier conversation. The NLC president is a very important position and a very important platform. Terrorism financing. As you said, we don't know what it is. That's the first one. Second one, 1,400 and hunger protesters still in jail. Amnesty International increasingly find that the civic space is shrinking. Empowered voices are being constrained. That's why I'm sure that piece was written by him, and that is part of this matter I raised in my piece. The essence of that piece is simply to take a fresh look at the Nigerian condition and say, for a year plus, you've been doing something in a particular direction, it doesn't seem to be working. Each time there's a blame game in Nigeria, Buhari blamed Jonathan. Now, after 8 years, we knew Jonathan was like a shining star to Buhari's own ruined presidency. Now, the same APC to APC transition, this one started by blaming Buhari. Shockingly, 1 year plus, the record seems to really be all over the place. So why do you want to keep persisting in that approach when you can do something better in two key directions? I say, one, you cannot overwhelm the system by neoliberal policies and expect the system to pick up for the people to be happy. Reduce hunger, eliminate poverty, solve the problem of insecurity, get petroleum products available and sold at the rate people can buy them safely and cheaply. You can't do that by abandoning the political state. The political state is what saw you to the power as a president. That means you must engage and embrace that. I mean, I want to be able to talk about something that you talked about recently, which is a cabinet, some kind of change in his cabinet structure. But you just said something, I think me and Nelta wrote it down at the same time, where he said neoliberal policies. That's exactly what he said. Explain that, just so people can understand. Neoliberal policies. What are these policies of the president? Yes. Which particular ones of this president would you say are neoliberal policies that you don't believe are working today? There are two frames or frameworks in terms of managing an economy. There's that framework that says the state must intervene powerfully and potently on behalf of the people, on behalf of the infrastructure of economic management. That means education, healthcare, services, housing, and so on, social works. The state must be hands-on and put in resources. So if you empower the people by empowering what we call human infrastructure, these areas, education, health, and housing, you empower human security. Society will know periods of development and growth, because you're putting the state at the epicenter of economic management. The neoliberal policy is the retreat of the state, deregulation, commercialization, privatization. And when you do it in such a manner in which few individuals, the so-called 1%ers, have accumulated resources from the state over decades, they now use those resources to purchase the economy. Their own goal is profit. That is what sings good music in the ears of the West. The US, London, Washington, Berlin, Paris, where the president is right now. So the retreat of the state is neoliberal economics. That makes the state have very little to do with market economy. Allow the free market enterprise to drive it. We see how it is driving it across Africa for 30-something years. From the SAP of the 80s, Structural Adjustment Program, under Babangida, it actually convoluted the economy and eventually destroyed the middle class. Today you can see the poverty that is haunting the land because of these policies. So rather than the state retreating, the state must engage. The US and other powerful countries, the NATO countries, the EU countries, they invest heavily in key sectors that will keep the people happy. They provide subsidies to their farmers, to manufacturers. They do matters of tariff against China and other countries. This is the way the state will come in. But here, when they say the state should begin to retreat so much, then the impact will become horrendous, as we are witnessing today. Let's take a look at some of the president's policies. I think we have some of them that we're putting up on our screens right now, just so we can get a feel from you. The first one you can see on day one, without having it in his speech, subsidy is gone. And it is gone for good. What did you do in terms of the moment you took power the same day? I'm not sure you had the benefit of insight from a lot of advisors. You didn't even have many advisors. There was no cabinet. You might make campaign promises, but you don't govern on the basis of your campaign pledges. You govern from the center. Now you remove the subsidy. What did you put right there? Okay. The short term, mid term, long term. Long term. But let's look at the other policies. Now you say that subsidy is gone. Yes, that sounds like one of the neoliberal policies you talked about. Not sounding like it is. It is. Okay. So back off. But let's look at the other ones. Unified exchange rates. Again, another one. That's again another one there. Students' loans. The student loan is part of that intervention, which is just coming on stream now. So there's some good ones that have been. That is part of that, which of course people can say, okay, recognition that that particular community, the student community, needs a lot of support. What the hell is going on there? Let us have this on ground there. How it is functioning and working, we don't even know much about it so far.
Okay, we'll get back to how that is functioning, because they tell us that they've distributed or given out some loans to thousands of Nigerian students across the country. But let's look at this. So we have the palliative measures at different levels.
It is disgusting to talk about palliatives. Okay. That's even a worst case scenario. That actually intensifies poverty. Okay. Listen, before you go forward, Buhari did palliatives for 8 years. People became poorer and poorer because they're handing them bread. Handing a little fish.
Instead of teaching them to fish.
You have to teach them how to fish by providing sustainable means of livelihood. So the moment you talk about palliative, you're talking about corruption. It's opaque because there's no transparency. The social register, who prepared it? The millions you're giving to, who knows them? And what do you give them? 2 loaves of bread, 2,000, 10,000, 5,000 and so on. You have 20 trucks to states for 3, 4, 5 million citizens of that state. 3 cups of rice put in a polythene bag. 2 onions on top of it. That's a palliative. You're actually impoverishing the people more and dehumanizing them. That one is something which you spend a lot of money, sometimes billions.
Okay, but if
without any result.
Prof, if we look at the way things are, as you talked about the fact that this administration has blamed the previous administration,
which is part of,
for a dead economy.
Yes.
But see this, so in coming in, the government thought to put out security reforms, set up an economic advisory council, infrastructure development, health sector reforms, fiscal discipline and revenue generation, agricultural development.
Okay, fine. Every government across board,
yes, sir,
did same. If you go back to Buhari, 1 year row, his policies and programs, interventions, maybe better than this, maybe heavier in number. That's the peace, the kernel of my peace. If you don't get the politics right, you can get the economics right. The president has abandoned the political state. When Obasanjo came in 1999, he has reassembled the political state, even though he won election. Clearly, this one didn't win, with very limited mandate. As I said, 220 million Nigerians, 93 registered with INEC, 26% voted. He had only 36% of that 26% of 93 million. There's no mandate. So you must bring in people because they are alienated from the system and they have a deep purchase into the civic, cultural, and corporate world.
When you say again, before you continue, Prof, you said he has alienated the politicians.
No, not just politicians. Not just the what you do as a political leader is to reassemble the political state. How do you do it? The moment you take office, you're the president. You're no longer president of APC or candidate of APC. The candidate of PDP, Labour Party, NNPP, we have to see you visibly courting them to come on board, not to join your government, to lend support. They're patriots like you. You must chase them the way you court people. Maybe a man courts a woman. Whether he's protesting, he said, no, politics is done over. Let us come to governance.
But in the face of Nigeria and since democracy returned, have you seen that kind of space?
I've seen that.
Where, except President Obasanjo. But beyond President...
No, I said Yar'Adua did. Even the initial stage of Jonathan government, he did. What Yar'Adua actually did was to go beyond the political state. He went to civic state and said, let's have a special advisor on civic relations. If you have had a special advisor or reanimated that office, the boys and the girls in the street for the end hunger protest are civic spokespeople. If you have an office that answers to them, that clears their concerns, maybe you could have tempered that the agitation down.
The president does have special advisor and assistant in the different geopolitical zones that are supposed to handle this matter.
If you have special advisor that is part of your own political infrastructure, maybe part of APC brigade, you are not actually dealing with crisis of governance. When you talk about civic space, you're talking about people who have established themselves, and I gave their names. I won't repeat it on air. If you look at that piece, I gave about 10, 15 names of solid men and women who are not APC. They're not even appointed by the president, but their people respect them. They're influencers. These are people, if you have them, sit with them, say, you have a presidential council on civic relations, on civil society. You have a special office, you put somebody that is credible, not a party loyalist, not a guy to get a patronage somewhere in the state or the zone. But if you abandon the political state, like I said, if you don't deal with the political solution to crisis of governance, and then pumping policies the way you wanted to list them, they will not stick. That's why for a year, and they've not stuck. Because in as much as conflicts are primarily economic in nature, bread and butter issues, kitchen table issues, the politics behind those conflicts they must be attended to. And you're attending to the politics. Bring me back to where we started. What is the essence of public intellectuals like us and scholars? To intervene. Because we see danger signals. That's why I read the piece from my friend. The danger signal is that if you keep on battering about the economics of the matter, the policies out there, and you see the state is slipping out of control in terms of liberalism and authoritarianism, then the dangers for the survival of democracy becomes more acute.
Let's talk a little bit about this cabinet reshuffle that you're asking for.
Not strictly speaking, cabinet reshuffle. I said in 1999, with Obasanjo having won the election, he said we need to bring everybody together and said, Alliance for Democracy, which was our party then, and said, an APP, get involved with us in the task of rebuilding Nigeria, redefining the national ethos again after years of military dictatorship. That's why Uncle Bola Ige came on board willingly from us. That's why Dugba Daraja, the daughter of Abraham Blessing, the leader of Afenifera, the leader of AD. That's why Mahmoud Waziri, APP chairman, became the Special Advice Inter-Party. Mohamed Shatta from same APP, Minister of Interior. They maintained their party loyalty and cohesion. The contestation for ideas and policies were going on, but people were saying the politicians seem to have come together. Elite consensus seems to have been built. Without build, you have a national consensus. But now when you're chasing labor, the president of NLC has been to treasonable felony charges, terrorist financing. You're actually trying to do what? Destroy a powerful, potent voice that helps to keep the society on its toes. Building guardrails for democracy is key. That's what Labour does, civic space does. 1,000+ detained for protesting, which is their right to protest on the basis of constitutional provisions. Finally, on this particular matter, intellectuals have a role in society. From Antonio Gramsci, you talk about organic intellectual that must overcome hegemonies. To people like Edward Said, who's in the representations of the intellectual, you must ensure that the voices that are contrary to potent voices of the hegemonic forces must be heard. But when you begin to diminish those voices, frighten those voices, society becomes increasingly brittle and over-delicate. And that's what is going on today in the country. Democracy must be fully guarded and protected. Don't say because we're taking the military out. It is easier sometimes to battle the military because there's a binary relationship.
The specifics of what you said, because I'm looking at that article, you asked the president to reconstitute his cabinet. Yes. Reconstitute your cabinet and incorporate elements within organized political opposition and civic groups. His cabinet are his ministers, the people that he meets with on a weekly basis. What kind of reconstitution do you think he should do there?
Well, when you set up a cabinet ab initio in the first instance, there are two things you could do. How did he get to power? He got to power because there was a massive national consensus that saw you through power. You can then relax and bring in any manner of person you want. If it's a narrow conspiratorial process that led you to power, you must then pick people within that conspiratorial group. That's why suddenly found 5 or 6 governors, former governors, as ministers. One left Lalong to go back to the Senate. He was a minister. El-Rufai was to be a minister. Badaru a minister. Bagudu a minister. Umahi a minister. It's unusual that they find people who have governed the subnational level for 8 years, then jump into cabinet portfolios. You can find that it's sort of pacification because of political loyalty and so on, including the FCT minister from the other side. So when you have that, and you have a whole lot of other people of maybe indeterminate orientation, not even who they are, their records may not be very clear. You do that to pacify people that saw you to power. But after a while, he said, this is not working. And really, it's not working now. Let's agree. This system, this is not working in almost every particular. Therefore, I need to retool it, but not just by rejigging it to suit the people who I'm comfortable with. But to do the hard things and take the hard choices or hard decisions. That's what I talked about. Reaching out to the organized opposition and said, we are all patriotic forces in Nigeria. We are all patriots. Come on board or send people on board to help us stabilize this thing and get it work. Civil society too. There are many leading lines of civil society that can play a role.
At the risk of opening up old wounds, when the Buhari administration was in power, and they started empowerment programs, and then they said it was open, you could go online.
They are not empowerment programs, actually. They diminished people's humanity.
That's what they said. They said it was an empowerment program. So they said, go online, you can do all of that. I remember very clearly that he was criticized for doing it by his party. They said, give the empowerment to the party. So that when we give it to our people, they will sing your praises. You're giving empowerment to people who would never commend you. So they said this was what made it look like the President Buhari administration wasn't doing anything. It was because they didn't have the right people doing the distribution so that they could sing the praises of the government.
Absolutely. Even if you do the right thing by empowering people through palliatives and then handouts and so on, it means how unserious you are as a government. If this government persists in that same mode, then it's unserious to govern. Because the money you're wasting, the hundreds of billions you're wasting, that are scattering all over the place, and they will not leave any footprints or footmarks. When you give somebody 20, 30 naira in the Nigeria of today, you know what that means to go to the market. So there won't be any sustainability in terms of the person's living condition. So when you do that, it means you're not even serious. So what you need to do first is understand the forces at work in society, because every society is composed of social forces. Those forces are now unleashed. They're unleashed because the hunger is rioting all over the place and poverty and penury diminishing the people. So when they say you got in the council of state to give you vote of confidence, it makes nothing. Because really it's not in their duty at the place to give you vote of confidence. The people will give you that. Now, on the broad scale, if I go back to the original thesis that I had in my mind, I'm happy this conversation dovetailed into it. The history of struggle in Nigeria is not just a history against military despotism. Even within civilian space, I was saying, under the military, the choices are binary. They are bad guys, we are good guys. Under democracy, in wood, somebody is elected and empowered to be in office. To confront him when he's not doing right is not easy. That's why they can hide under so many subterfuges to cage the people, to tamp down labor, to destroy the civic space, to say, oh, we are elected, we're not like military. So if you simply shrink and say, because this government is elected, let's just allow them to run riot all over society, then those guardrails will be broken. The guardrails protect civic liberties, protect press freedom, protect human rights, protect constitutional governance.
I mean, we're talking right now about the shrinking of the civic space, which is a very...
aggressively shrinking.
Now, for those...
And people must speak out.
For those who are in the security agencies, like the police, and I know part of this conversation is coming up because of the Labour leader, the NLC president, being invited, and those who were detained during the protests.
Yes.
Well, let's hone in on this particular one, the NLC president being invited on these questions on terrorism financing and whatnot. The police will tell you that, look, we're doing our job.
Okay.
It's not, we're not shrinking the civic space. If an investigation is going on and the man ran into Neota's house, I would want to know if Neota knows this guy, So it's not as though he's under arrest. I'm just inviting.
Let me tell you why.
The question then will also be, was there actually a man that ran into
that place?
Let me tell you how it
that's
works.
going on. Inviting him over, let's make that point. Inviting him over doesn't mean he's under arrest. And in what way is that shrinking the civic space? That's what security will ask you.
Let me tell you how it works. How do democracies fail? It's not because somebody gets a gun, as in the past, and fires shots, and government scatters, and the new order is composed of hunter, your military hunter. Democracy crumbles by what you're describing. You can sit in your office as IG. I'm not saying they've done in this instance and invent a fictitious crime and demonize people. You can criminalize potent forces. NNC have beef with this government. So I'm suspicious of government motive. There's a lot of beef. Even the new minimum wage hasn't even kicked off. Many things, issues are resolved down the line. Suddenly when you hear terrorism, terror financing, you are frightened ab initio, you and I say, oh, give the benefit of the doubt because they may just be doing their job. I'm saying that they could just be criminalized and demonizing potent civic forces and voices out there. When they have people, 1,000+ them, detained for how many weeks now, without trial, without arraigning them in court in a democratic state. You say, oh, no, there could be a lot of other subversive things around them. That's what I'm talking about, shrinking civic spaces, about democracy itself under threat, and how powerful voices, strong intellectual voices, thinkers' voices must be out there to protect this. Let me tell you, when Hitler came to power, he won the election. He was sworn in as a Chancellor of Germany. But over time, people can grow and become something they are not meant to be. We don't have a Hitler in our midst so far. We never had one. But the point is that if we stop protecting democratic governance and protecting civic spaces, politicians do not know how to say stop. Remember the old saying that may be tried, power corrupts. The absoluteness of it corrupts absolutely. That's why I find that even in dark moments of struggle, look at the case of Nkombola again during the military. Stuck his neck out, became what? A prisoner of conscience in a battle. Look at the column he used to have, Nkombola's column. Look at the kind of things they poured out there at the great risk to themselves and their families and their communities. But they didn't sit back to say, oh, let the government behave any way it likes. We can't allow the police to behave any way they like. We can't allow the DSS to behave any way they like. They're under democratic control. In 1999, when we enthroned this democracy, the first plank was to do what? Subject the defense, security, and intelligence forces to democratic control. They don't live in a strange, autonomous world of their own. They cannot come out that space and say, oh, we are doing our work, and diminish civic liberties and damage the democracy we struggle to build. Anybody egging them on, whether in government, whether you are in a high place, must put a stop to that.
Prof, I wrote something here when you started this conversation. Indeed, you were right when you said the neoliberal policies. But I wrote something down. I wrote academia versus government versus the people, in the sense that some will say the academia is where the failure of government can be tied to, in the sense that the professors and those who are in the academic who have studied all of these policies and seen how they've impacted societies in the past, present, and towards the future, are not speaking or are not meeting with government at certain points to say this is what should be done. And when it comes to the electioneering process, the academia who have been brought in to help, how do you say now, birth these new governments, so to speak, are themselves, or have allowed themselves to be somewhat compromised.
Okay, fine, I get it. In my previous conversation somewhere else, I said that the thinkers or the thought leaders, those who belong to, have set up many think tanks and think through societal problems, we are complicit in some of these issues you raised. Not even at the mechanical level, the mechanics of managing the election and being compromised, at the big level of big ideas and big thought. I gave the example of presidential system. Why have professors and thinkers folded their hand to say, oh, it has come to stay? Something that is persistently shown not to be working well, in spite of the grandiose levels of amendments of the Constitution and the way we think it here and there. Is it foundational or ontological in the sense that the identity of this political system, this political order, is not even working? Thinkers need to do a lot in that direction. See what Obasanjo is doing of late. Talking about how do we rethink liberal democracy in Africa? How do we challenge its normative claims and the so-called universal values that propel it? How do we get Afrocentric conditions for African democracy to emerge? So I agree with you that thinkers ought to do more. But again, like Karl Marx, I won't stop talking about him, said, the ideas of the ruling class are the ruling ideas in every epoch. The ruling class, we know who they are in Nigeria. The ruling political clique, we know who is leading them. Those ideas are the ideas that permeate society. So when you see people normally give example of a messenger who is corrupt and a PAM secretary is corrupt, everybody is corrupt in Nigeria. You know my answer? Water becomes muddy from the edge, from the top, not at the middle, at the head. And no fish rot from the middle part of it, the head. So people get their impetuses reflected in the way those who lead them behave.
Some people...
So the moral climate is defined by the ruling class. So the professor who is hurting, majorly look at this scenario in which a family is in destitution, you know, poverty is racking him with all the years of labor. Many are even graduates of Harvard, Yale, and other Ivy League universities, yet they can't make ends meet.
Since you brought up the concept,
them to behave at a higher moral terrain than the rest of society, sometimes it will not even work, even when many are damn good in what they do and they resist all manners of compulsions to do bad.
Since you brought up the concept of the decay of democratic ethos in Nigeria, I want you to be able to get your thoughts on a broader conversation, which is that this democracy which we're practicing here is borrowed and doesn't reflect our realities as a people. If you go to other parts, but we all keep talking about Rwanda, everyone wants the beauty and the development of Rwanda. Can you pay the price of living in Rwanda?
Okay.
You're not allowed to protest in Rwanda.
Okay.
There are civil liberties that you cannot enjoy. You cannot put your speakers outside of your church and be blasting music or praying in your mosque without loud music. I think that they have to sacrifice for the sort of life that they live there. Do you think that this modern liberal democracy that we're practicing here is one that reflects us, or do we have a peculiar situation where we should create our own style democracy that reflects our values and who we are?
Okay. I've already put it out there and I said, if you want to look at democracy, you look at democracy from two perspectives. The universality of democratic values or norms and the specificities of those norms that are unique to geographies, to groups like Africa, like Nigeria. You do some sort of eclectic, binding. You bring this and bring that and then merge together. I'm not going to sit here and then propose an Afrocentric democracy that is shorn of any universal claims. Then am I going to allow, as we have allowed, the punishment of the Nigerian political space by comprehensive foreign invasion, democratic invasion. The history of liberal democracy in Africa for 30 years, that long march is a wasted march across board. So you can have all the so-called freedoms you are describing here, yes, but then how about liberties? It's been a contestation even in the bipolar world of communism and capitalism in the 70s and 80s, when they say, socialists will tell you, you need to live in a home, no matter how small it is. You need to have a job. You need to go to school free of charge. You need to be protected from poverty. Capitalism will tell us, it's telling us today, you are free. Go and do anything you like to do, but there's no money. Go to Ibadan, you're free to go to Ibadan, but you don't have a penny to even feed yourself and your family. Go and belong to a political party, but the form to become a governor is 100 million. And if you don't have it, you won't become a governor. So those normative claims of liberal democracy are sham because the actual ideological apparatus is camouflaged as norms. That means it is arranged to suit the rich against the poor. So they claim to give you freedom, but you don't have the freedom because the material prerequisites for freedom are denied you comprehensively. Look at the legal state. The jurisprudence is not abnormal as people think, that they have a lot of wives and girlfriends and the sons and daughters of the powerful and the rich in the court, in the bench. No, it is designed. That lady justice has no blindfold. It is clear-sighted. That's why it takes 12 years to even try a governor, but 1 week to sentence a guy in Day who stole a fowl to prison. Because the court is arranged to reflect the economics of power in a state, the so-called political economy of power. So when you talk about a liberal democracy or what is happening in Rwanda or happening in China, I don't know. I've not been to Rwanda. I don't know whether they're happy. I don't know whether they're sad. But if Rwanda is doing well as a state in terms of its economy, social services, public works, and so on, and the people are not being tortured and imprisoned, the way people are even being tortured and imprisoned here too. I don't know what years we're benefiting. You have a parliament that has gone crazy, absolutely. Our debate, which we have not even come to, is how many millions they earn a year, a month? Oh, it's 20 million. No, it is 10. Oh, 20 million is not even enough. Well, the parliament should be reconstituted as one, a unicameral, and made a part-time job. And when this highest salary should be that of a public school principal, I don't see the hell of work they do. Because if they do it, and they do it well, the living standard of people of this country will be improved dramatically over the past course of 24, 25 years.
So, Prof, we need to go real quick. So in winding down, some clients have done a mix of all of this, different, a mix of the systems out there, whether welfarism or socialism or capitalism, as the case may be. What would you say should be the way forward for Nigeria?
In summation, for the moment that grips us now, the president has to do course correction, embrace the political state and work with that state, enhance relationship with civic society, the civic order, or civic infrastructure of governance. Do that. And then retool economic agenda to reflect both their neoliberal instincts and then populist concerns and agitations, balance them. The specificities of this balancing something for him and his team to work and not for me. 4, the protection of democracy, civil liberties, and press freedom by ensuring that the guardrails that make these protections work are maintained and not diminished. Finally, the role of public intellectuals, like I said earlier, is to do what? Be the beacon of light, be the strength of society, speak powerfully to people in power, tell them the basic truth. that across generations, across the world, the great scholars and great thinkers of all times have tried to do what we're doing today. As much as possible, try to maintain the space in which you must have authoritative voice, and you must have that voice to really permeate the corridors of power. That power not only is it transient, but democracy is something which you must guard jealously. And that the police and other security apparatus should not diminish or demonize, people who are actually out there to make a living and enjoy their life in the democratic state. If you get all these things together, I suspect and I believe strongly too, Nigeria will wobble out from where we are, move on a steady pace to a better social and political order, and finally can crest that mountaintop of national illumination to say we have arrived, because we have ceased to belong in a society where a foreign democratic invasion has taken control of our land. We're able to push back on the democratic state as constituted and rebuild the democratic order with some injection from internal conditions of African Nigeria.
Thank you so much. This is where we have to hang the conversation for today. Professor Udenta. Udenta is the founding national secretary at the Alliance for Democracy, AD, and a distinguished fellow of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Also was director with the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, and all of that. Thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Sunrise Daily will take a moment, and when we come back, it will be the business segment on Sunrise Daily. Just stay with us.
Good morning, Nelta and Kayla, and back here in Lagos. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. I'm in John McQuarrie. We do business for just about 30 minutes. We promise not to exceed that today, unlike yesterday. But we start from the global space. So we tell you about oil prices in the global space. It edged lower on Tuesday as Israel accepted a proposal to tackle disagreement, blocking a ceasefire deal in Gaza, helping ease worries about a supply disruption in the Middle East. So let's see what this has done to the price this morning. Well, we see a big drop in the price, yes, because when there is supply, ease of supply, and no disruption to supply, then you can know that the price will drop. So it went down, all the way down, 0.15%. Brent is at $77.54. Not very good for Nigeria, even though we don't know what's happening, with our oil at this time, But WTI of the United States dropped a little bit more than that, 0.2% is what we see, $74.23 a barrel. And as you can expect, that decision by Israel is a major driver to the numbers that we see there. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had said that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had accepted a bridging proposal presented by Washington to tackle disagreements, blocking a ceasefire deal in Gaza, and urged Hamas to do the same. Also easing supply concerns is production at Libya's Sarara oil field. That has risen to 85,000 barrels a day in a move aimed at supplying the Zawiya oil refinery to engineers working at the field. Libya's National Oil Corporation had declared force majeure on oil exports from the field on August 7 after a blockade by protesters hit production at the 300,000 barrels per day field. We come home to Nigeria. Take a look at what happened to the naira yesterday. We saw a little bit of gain here for NAF from 0.04, and then for NAFEX, it was a drop. It's odd, when you see inverse relationship right there, but this is what happened. So the naira opened at 1,579 naira 89 kobo, and then closed at 1,579 naira 22 kobo. So you can see the change there is really marginal, just around the kobo, but a little bit of gain right there while we have a flip of that on NAFEX. We saw 0.05% drop for that. So some kind of stable number we've been seeing around the naira since last week. And of course, we do hope it stays that way or even drops to a better value. Now, another urgent issue is the petrol queues you've seen. I'm sure you've seen it on your way to work, on your way home, it has been disruption to traffic. It's been disruption to how many hours did you spend in the filling station, or how much did you have to cough out to buy a liter of petrol? A problem which unfortunately is spreading, you know, in the country. It was just Lagos and Abuja, but now we hear it's also appearing in other parts of the country. Some of the depot attendants that I spoke to personally off camera did say that when they go to get petrol, there are no products there, meaning there was no imports. And of course, this begs a lot of answers. So now on the other side, the modular refineries are saying there's a need to restructure Nigeria's oil and gas sector to include backward integration, and also to look the way of the modular refineries. Perhaps investments in that area could help. And in the midst of this, there's also the fear of substandard petroleum products, apart from the insufficient. Well, yesterday we had the chairman, Board of Trustees, Crude Oil Refiners Association of Nigeria, that's Koran, Captain Emmanuel Ihanacho. He's the one who proposed this.
We have been producing crude oil for a very long time, but we are stuck in a situation where most of the production that we have is actually shipped abroad. We sell it. And if we sell it, then whoever buys it takes it to a refinery and refines it and brings it back to us and sells it to us for about approximately twice the amount that they paid for the crude. So to start with, we really need to be able to restructure our oil industry and how we manage the sale of crude. So do we really want to be selling the crude if we can actually produce the refined products locally? Producing the refined products locally would ensure that we have adequate supply, and the problems that we are witnessing today we don't see. There are other multiplier benefits that we will gain from investing in modular refineries. Jobs, engineering jobs, processor jobs, all kinds of multiplier benefits are there to be realized through investment in modular refinery.
Well, that's a signal that we're discussing commodities at this time. But, I mean, what is commodity without transportation, without energy security? We're discussing with the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rewani. Mr. Rewani obviously is an economist, but maybe he has one or two solutions he can suggest. Mr. Rewani, good morning. The queues are back. Not that they really totally disappeared, but, I mean, it's not looking so good at all.
It's not looking good at all. To be honest with you, it's an embarrassment to an oil-producing country with the refining capacity we have. This shouldn't be happening to us. So the scarcity is there. The effective price of petrol today in Lagos, Metropolis, and Abuja, in certain areas, is about 1,100, which is exactly the price across in Cameroon and the price in Benin Republic. So basically, the price is in equilibrium, and that's what the effective price is. Now, the subsidized price is 610, 620. So who is paying the subsidy and who is bearing it? But meanwhile, there's disruption. There's a lot of downtime, and it's not good for the economy, and it's actually affecting output. So there's a problem. But the big problem here is that because of this, prices that were actually beginning to subside are now beginning to increase. We've seen the price of rice back up. We've seen the price of wheat back up. We have seen a couple of other commodities, palm oil, up by about 33%. All of this has happened in a matter of 3-4 days of fuel shortage. So one, it is disruptive to downtime and labor. Two, it's affecting output. And three, it's actually setting the clock back in terms of prices. So it's actually making the work of the central bank and the Ministry of Finance and Coordinating Ministry of the Economy much more difficult. While efforts are being made on one hand, some of these things are happening. How do we solve it? We have to solve it. NNPC has to complain as to what exactly is the problem. Is it a logistics problem? Is it a pricing problem? Is it a vested interest problem? We got to figure that out, because it is a threat to political stability in this country.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Rewani, you've said this a couple of times, how there's deficits of trust And this is, you know, part of what feeds into that. Because, I mean, Nigerians just wake up and find it difficult to buy a commodity that is supposed to be available, and there's no communication, you know. And then we start hearing NNPC is paying subsidy with their profits and revenue, and, you know, and nothing is really confirmed, and people don't know why they're going through what they're going through. I wonder how, you know, you will win the people's trust if you cannot communicate with them about what they are going through.
No, the problem is, and I've said it consistently on your programs and other platforms, that there's a shortage of truth in this country. People have to be honest and come clean. Because once the country gets to the point where nobody believes what you're saying except yourself, then there's a problem. NNPC has reported a profit of X trillion naira. NNPC said there's under recovery. Said the refineries will start working in August. The Port Harcourt refinery will start working in August. We need to know what is the truth. The truth cannot be in such short supply that the price of truth becomes so high. So because once the supply shortage, prices increase. The price of truth and those who depend on it to make decisions become so expensive, and it passes on to people. So I think that's the problem. So let's come clean. We know that the Minister of Finance says that on October 1, we will start selling crude to the refineries in naira. We also think that the supply will be guaranteed, quality will be guaranteed, but at what price? At what price? We need to understand this, and who is paying the cost, right? Because you either pay in terms of taxes, or you pay in terms of inflation, or you pay in terms of instability. I think that's the truth of this matter. So,
you know that crude going for naira will start on the 1st of October. That's a statement. Because, yes. I mean, yesterday I had a conversation with some of the people at the background modular refineries, and they're like, crude, where is the crude to start with? Most of the crude are being used for some obligations that have been done before now. NNPC is taking more loans, and it's still the crude that they're going to use. And talking about Port Harcourt Refinery, we were told months ago that it would start, was it in July, then it moved to August. Now we're hearing it's September. So, I mean, who says that 1st of October will actually see the beginning of crude for naira?
Well, you see, one thing that I've noticed in this country that we keep on putting months, but we don't say the year. Is it October 2025 or October 2024? So I'm being cynical here, but the truth is that let's be very specific. If you do not know, then it's better to say we don't know. The estimates are different from guesstimates. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But again, you have to be factually correct, and you have to be intentionally correct. Your intention cannot be to confuse people. So right now, when people are confused, you know what happens? The confidence breaks down, there'll be paralysis of economic activity, and the result is what you get. So enough of the problems. Let's look at the solutions. I think right now, one is that we have to guarantee crude to the refineries. Whether it's in naira or in dollars, no matter what happens, Nigeria is issuing a Euro bond, diaspora bond, which has opened already. I think it will be fully subscribed or oversubscribed. So there's no, currencies are fungible. It doesn't matter whether it's in naira and dollars. The true effective price is the effective price. Today, people are buying petrol at 1,100, 1,200. They're buying diesel at 1,200, which is, one is deregulated, one is regulated. But you can see that the effective prices are the same. So as far as I am concerned, and as far as any economist who knows what is sought is concerned, you must have equilibrium in markets. And equilibrium in markets means that aggregate supply and aggregate demand will intersect somewhere and the price will be there. If there's a subsidy, come out clean and say, okay, we are subsidizing this. Are you subsidizing production or consumption? And if the subsidy is there, then let's know and let's come clean. And now know so that we don't create rent seeking and people come out in the market, which is what has happened. So right now, the inefficiency of the system, the logistics, inefficiency of the market structure, inefficiency of the pricing system is leading to all these distortions. The effect of it is that people are suffering. There are people who cannot even get to the hospital because there's no petrol. And we are losing lives, quality of people that have invested in their education and they cannot get to the hospital. They die and we lose their output. So it is a major issue. And we have, as a country, we have to come to terms with the fact that we cannot afford disruption. We are an oil-producing country. We have refining capacity. We have tankers. We have petrol stations, and yet we cannot get petrol to the people. It's an embarrassment to everybody.
And unfortunately, all this is feeding to the little relief we're supposed to have in the price of at least some commodities. And as you noted earlier, we see the price are picking up again. Absolutely.
But I think sooner or later, this will sort out itself and prices will moderate again. So I'm not too worried about it. But again, like you saw, the stock market took it by the chin yesterday. And in any time you are wearing red, I think the stock market
I was hoping you would say that.
I'm going to tell my people to sell. It is in red.
It is in red. The market is going to bleed.
No, if you wear, I know the chroma doesn't allow you to wear green. So, well, maybe you have to look for some other chroma to use.
I think I should run away from red so the market will stop bleeding.
Yeah, I've told you that when it is in red, sell your stocks, right?
I wish I had that power, Mr. Arwani, but thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, talking about the value of naira, the issue of Forex, do you know there's some strategies that could help you survive this period? We'll share that after the break. Just stay with us. Welcome back to watching Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. And now we'll discuss Forex. Yeah, it's a topic that you really want to hear. And we're doing that with the Chief Executive Officer of Kira Forex. I think they call her Kira Forex for those who know her. Sikira Lamidi is the Chief Executive Officer of Kira Forex and joins us right here in the studio. Hi, Sikira. Good to have you. Good morning.
Morning. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, I mean, this period in Nigeria, the issue of Forex is a sensitive one, affecting everybody, especially those in the real sector, manufacturing and all of that. But, I mean, you say you have some tips on risk management and profit optimization, and we would really love to hear that.
All right, so basically what we do is that we trade using the chart like what is showing now. So we take advantage of the fluctuation between the exchange rates to make money. So we study the chart, we study each and every economy, then we project that on the chart to make profit.
Okay, so what can manufacturers do at this time, you understand, when it comes to, because of the fluctuations, even though for the last, I think, over a week, we have seen a bit of stability, you know, and, you know, manufacturers, for instance, they have to import and they have to deal with customs duties, which unfortunately has been fluctuating, and all of that. What are some of the ways that they can protect themselves against these fluctuations? And of course, it fits back into the consumer's prices.
All right, so what I think is most of these manufacturers can just save in foreign currencies. Yeah, they can save in foreign currencies so that they can make a lot of profit, even when the exchange rate goes up.
Okay. All right. So another thing, obviously, apart from Forex, is obviously the price of things are going up. And now we have the issue of the petrol scarcity, which also fits into, you know, what manufacturers have to face. From your own interaction and your experience, what are some of the tips, especially the startups? You know, a lot of young people want to go into ICT and everything. What tips can you share with them?
All right, first, like I said, we do more on the chart rather than the physical aspect where maybe you can go into the black market to exchange money or stuff like that. So first, what they need to do is they need to understand how the system works, find a strategy, find a mentor as well. Yeah.
All right, and a lot of young people now see opportunity in ICT, but they also have the challenge of infrastructure, right? I mean, even if you wanted to buy petrol, you need power and things like that. And then after you've gone through that, of course, you have the challenge of network and the fluctuation that also comes with that. Any experience, any tips of what they can do around that?
Yeah, now we have a lot of content online. Now it's even easier when you go to YouTube, you can get a lot of content.
Yeah, but accessing it is the network is also a challenge.
That's one of the problems. But I always feel like if you need something, you just have to find a way out to get it. Yeah.
All right, so we have to thank you so much, Mr. Executive Officer of Kira Forex Trading Academy, Sikira Lamidi. Thank you for your time.
Welcome.
All right, now let's do a little bit of market. And Mr. Rani did give a hint to it earlier. Yesterday, the NGX was bloody. It was down, really, really down for that matter. And Dangote Cement was a major driver of that red market that we had at the NGX yesterday, dropped a whole 10% on the share price. So there you have it. It's the market closed down 1.36% at 95,000. Can you beat that? We closed last week at 97, and then just the first trading day of the week, we had dropped to 95,000, and that means that 749.7 billion naira, getting close to $1 trillion naira, was shaved off the market, and we finally lost the 55 trillion naira that we've been hanging on to for a bit at 54.38 trillion naira. And yes, Dangote was a major driver. Profit taking on that stock was huge yesterday. So even though we see that the activity chart was green, we know that a lot of money was shaved off the market yesterday. Looking at the sectors, banking was marginally up 0.2%. Consumer goods, however, was down. And there you have it, the evidence of profit-taking on Dangote Cements. Industrial goods dropped 5%, 5%. Insurance followed suit, a little bit of gain on oil and gas at the end of trade yesterday. And looking at the top trade, your STD Insurance, GTCO, and Wema Bank, that explains that gain that we see on the counter, on the banking counter. Mostly these are financial services. Now, looking at the smaller market, the NASD OTC market, it was negative, closed negative yesterday, 0.27 at 1,477.03. Market cap around 2 trillion naira, and the activity chart was looking green also. 32 deals, 7 stocks traded, and a whole lot of gain on the volume, more than 1,000% on the volume yesterday. Well, kind of quiet market now. Perhaps investors are waiting for some push factors that could move them one way or the other. We know that yesterday also the first domestic dollar bond from the federal government of Nigeria opened. So maybe that's where investors are looking at this time, I wonder. But that's much we'll take now. Remember, at 1 p.m., I'll be back here with Will Ibong. We'll give you fresh market numbers, and we'll have a whole 55 minutes to go around the world of business. That will be at 1 p.m. So let's head back now to the Sunrise Daily Studio.
Welcome back, and that's where we're going to Edo State. What's happening there in the next few weeks or so? We would have an election in Edo State, and there are a lot of people who are seeking to occupy that #1 seat, and as they all are claiming, are going to be able to birth the Edo State the people of that state will love and will want to be a part of. But today we're having a conversation with one of those who are seeking that #1 seat, the governorship candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Mr. Azeme Azena. He joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Azena.
Thank you. Good morning. God bless you.
God bless you too. So what's been like for you? It's a few weeks to go, and the race appears to be heating up.
has been a very good moment. By the grace of God, preparations are going higher every day. By the grace of God, we are going through a moment I would call it the finishing moment, because we are putting finishing touch or touches in all our campaigns and all our structures, all our, let me say, every angle that the election is required to be seen, the perspective, the angle, and what the people want to know, what the people want to hear, what the people want to see. We are trying to go to the grassroots, from the local government to the wards, to the units, to let them know that it's no longer as business as usual, that we are coming out in a full force to give birth to a better Edo State. So it has not been easy, but the encouragement we are having here is that the people are willing for a change. People are willing to see a new birth of Edo State. People are willing to see a new person occupying the seat of Osadebe Avenue. People are willing to see the transformation of Edo State. So it has not been easy, but we thank God that everything is going well. The acceptance for NNPC is massive. The people are yearning. People are calling from left to right. In all the 80 local governments and the 192 wards, we get calls every day calling us to come over and perfect our structures and our preparation with them. And we have been doing so. We are believing God that everything is going to go well.
You know, it's good that we're able to catch you. You're in your car. That tells us that you're actually headed somewhere, but it's good that we're able to catch you. The INEC, the umpire, has talked about some of the things that are likely to happen. Number one, insisting that there will be no proxy collection of permanent voter cards ahead of the Edo governorship elections. Now, we know that based on INEC's records, some 119,206 new voters were registered. That's in addition to voters, about 8,000 plus, that transferred from other states to Edo, and about 46,000 who transferred within the state itself. Now that's adding to the number of voters that you are gunning or hoping will come to vote for you to occupy that number one seat. But you said it, that it's not easy, yet you're saying that the people are calling you to come to them. What exactly are you offering the people of Edo State that should make them forget all the others and look to the New Nigeria People's Party?
First and foremost, I am a new bride. I'm a new breed into the Nigeria politics. The politicians have actually fed the people of Edo State. The technocrats have actually also fed the people of Edo State. And now they are yearning for a new bride, a new breed. And I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for years, and I've been a grassroots man. As a matter of fact, my nickname is Homeboy. So one of the reasons why they are yearning for Dr. Azena is because he's a man who have lived with them since he was born. I have never lived outside Edo State. My primary down to all the certificates acquired are done were done in Edo State. And also my family live in Edo State, and my children school in Edo State. So every other, most of the candidates coming from other parties, they don't live with us. They don't know what we are going through. So the people are wiser. The people are clever now, that you can't call for them because of their vote. And after election, you will dump them and leave them. So that is one of the reasons why they are yearning for Pastor Azeme. I don't have money to offer them like other political parties are doing, but I've offered myself in the past years. Also, I've offered community services, not because of election. I've been on ground, attending to their needs, not even when I was not having in mind the political ambition. I'm one of those persons in Edo State, one of the few pastors you can tell or you can point at that he has been on the streets, removing people from the streets as rehabilitating them and putting them back to the society so that they can be useful to themselves and to their generation. In terms of crime, I'm also, I'll be there. I think I would say I will be number one because I've gotten several awards, even from the state government, present state government, that Pastor Azeme is one of those supporting the state to reduce crime in the society. Poverty, I have been there to reduce poverty, even from the church down to the society. Is it medical outreach? I've been doing it for the past 10 years. Is it restoring light to people's homes? I've been doing that in the past 10 years. It has just been awesome. So this is the reason why, some of the reasons why they are asking Pastor Azeme to come. But like you said something about the INEC. I pray that the INEC should do the right thing, because some of the handwriting on the wall that I'm seeing now, I don't want to start crying ahead of time, because even when we're doing continuous registration, we could see abnormality that took place. How a young party like us were intimidated by other mighty parties. But so I just believe that they should do the right thing when it comes to the aspects of INEC. But talking about Pastor Azeme is the homeboy. Pastor Azeme is the man of the people. Pastor Azeme is a grassroots man. Pastor Azeme lives with the people. Pastor Azeme knows the suffering of the people. As I'm even talking to you now, I am doing my law program in AAU. I can have the money to go to overseas to do it. So because I just felt that everything that I should do, it should start from my state, because charity begins at home.
Pastor Azeme, is it interesting that you brought up this aspect of your lifestyle? It does seem like a lot of pastors are coming out for the governorship position in Edo State. I think it's only the Labour Party that we've not had pastor in front of his name so far. But speaking of your religious beliefs, Primate Ayodele and yourself had a bit of an issue in March. In fact, there's a bounty on your head. He says he will give you his media aid, rather. I think his name is Osho Oluwatosin. In March, just so you can give us an update, he said he would give ₦1 billion to someone. I think it was the head of your party or someone. He said he would give ₦1 billion if you're able to win the election. How are things with you and Primate Ayodele and that media aid and that whole impasse? How is it going right now?
I don't have issue with my respected religious leader. He's one of the most respected, and I respect him so much, and I will never have issue with him. Well, my reply to his media aid was that if a prophecy was given, it's not permanent. A prophecy can be changed. Permit me as a religious leader to give you a part of a Bible when prophecy was changed. In Isaiah 38, Isaiah was sent to meet Uzziah that is going to die. Put your house in order. As he was going, God told Isaiah again, go and meet him that have added 15 years to his years. So prophecy, many prophecies that came up in the Bible were changed. So what I replied him, my respected father, is that a prophecy has been given. So it's for him to not join me to change it. We don't need to beg. We don't need to go into contest. You don't contest spiritual matter. You change what you don't like. So for you to say you will give me 1 billion if I win, it's like God cannot change his prophecy. So God can change his prophecy. So that I will not go into contest with anybody.
But just remind us of what the prophecy was.
He said I will come out as number 4. And I said, okay, since the number 1 and 2 and 3 have not been said, that means I still have a privilege to change the situation. Because he didn't tell us number 1 and 2 and 3. He only measured that I'm number 4. So since the 1, 2, 3 are vacant, so I am taking number 1.
All right, let's talk about the next issue that you had, which was in June. Ward members from Esako East, they had suspended you for anti-party activities. Just so you can give us an update on how things are with that scenario right now. You did give your response at the time, but where do things stand now? How's the relationship between you, as a man coming out for governor under the NNPP, and your ward members in Esako East?
No. I was never suspended. I'm from 110. And the person who had grievances after our primaries was the one who went to court. It was the one that was sponsoring some persons from another ward entirely. I'm from Ward 10, Etsako East Local Government. I responded that my ward never suspended me, and the person that was doing that was somebody who was aggrieved that I defeated him in the primary, went to court and looked for other areas to actually bring me down. But nevertheless, being a learned person, you should know that a candidate of a particular election at a time cannot be suspended. Only 3 things that the law required for such a person to be removed. I am not a political party holder. I'm not a party chairman that you suspend. I'm a candidate. So the only thing that can remove me from the ballot, either I resign, that is what the electoral has said, or my enemy dies, or I am in sin, or I can do. These are the 3 things that can remove me from there. So those who were perpetrating suspicion that I'm no longer a candidate is more or less non-avoid ab initios.
So let's talk a bit about your chances. You are up against a lot of heavyweights, many of them pastors as yourself. One of the conversations we saw online about the governorship election in Edo State is that God has spoken to a lot of people, and a lot of them think that they are going to be in power when the elections happen. So talk to us a bit about your chances. You're up against an incumbent party, not an incumbent candidate, an incumbent party. You're up against an opposition, which is the opposition at the federal level. You're also up against the Labour Party, which many people view as the party that is favored by many young people. What do you think your chances are going to be?
My chances are very high. First and foremost, history will be created again after Adasam Aliu Shomole, one of our persons or one of our illustrious sons that governed Edo State. He defeated the incumbent party and also defeated the federal might. And I think being a religious man and a Christian, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And I am the David of our time. All I require to bring down Goliath is a stone. And that stone, I have gotten it already. You go by Nigeria political history, you will discover that even in Nigeria, an incumbent president was removed. So if incumbent president was removed, that means that federal might, state might, and inconsequential when the people of the state of the country made up their mind for a change. And now, those state people have made up their mind for a change. They are yearning for a change. And being who I am and my party, I just know with God on our side, we are going to bring down the mighty to the barest minimum that they will never expect. That it will be like a dream, because it's not he that willeth, according to the Bible, but it is God that showeth mercy. So we have all of chances of opportunity. And let me quickly say this to you now, that apart from being an homeboy, I am a man that people love so much. I don't need to praise myself. People love me so much. Measure Azeme Azena anywhere. People will tell you it's our man. I may not have the finances to go on billboard and go on national televisions the way that does, but grassroots is where politics lies. So when you go to the grassroots, you will find Pastor Azeme Azena and NNPC in the grassroots.
You know, you've called yourself a homeboy. So I'm sure you're not the only one that has called yourself a homeboy. But again, you talked about some of the things you've done for the people and what your plans are for the future, how you would turn around Edo State. But considering the economic situation of the country and the limited resources that may be available by the time you get into office, do you think you'll be able to turn Edo State around? Can you give us specifics in terms of what you're going to do? At what point would you say you've turned around the revenue generation of the state, investor capacity, the desire of investors to come into Edo State, security, infrastructural development? These are all indices that everyone will be looking to change. So let's hear your specifics. At what timelines would you be able to do certain things?
Okay, based on my written down plan for Edo State for the past years, I want to say in my first 100 days in office, there are many things I'm going to look into and I'm going to change. The first is education. I am in AAU as I'm talking to you now, the state-owned tertiary institution. If I be a governor even for one day, I'm going to look into AAU and bring it down the school fees of the students and the way it used to be before this administration. And secondly, all the lecturers, the staffs, all their study debt will be paid. And thirdly, the infrastructures, you can't just imagine what we are going through in the classes here. I'm going to renovate them within 100 days in office. And I'm going to be giving them subvention. Subvention is that money that comes to the government, to the school, to run the affair of the school. And that is the reason why this school is having this issue, because this present administration have not been giving them subvention. Now, I'm going to tackle hunger. Edo State is one of the states that if you come now, things are very expensive. And the few reasons why the things are very expensive is because 80% of our consumable foods come from the north. You talk about the protein, which is the meat, cow, goats, maize, beans, rice, green, pepper, anything, measure them. They come from the north. And since the roads are bad, the federal roads, and also the increment in diesel, that is why those states is suffering from that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that I will not capitalize on this road below to federal government. I'm going to make sure the road that link Kogi State to Edo State is motorable to reduce that stress that our people are passing through. And another thing to make sure there is surplus of food is to encourage our people to go back to farms. Because presently now, 40% of Edolites are no longer going to the farm because of insecurity. So when I'm tackling the agriculture, I'm also tackle the farm, tackle the security of Edo State. So the kidnappers and the herdsmen that are living in our forest, I'm going to make sure I will partner with the host community of such places and the security agencies to make sure we flush those forests so that our people can go back to forests and farm so that we can have food to eat. So as I'm handling agriculture, indirectly, I'll be handling insecurity that is in Edo State. So another thing I'm going to do when it comes to insecurity in Edo State, because presently now both our roads they are not safe. I'm going to make sure that we are going to do what we call drop your gun, we take care of you. It's like an amnesty program. I've been doing it for the past 11 years, where people come to renounce, drop their gun. You can ask that, you can verify what I'm telling you now. Even when I'm not a governor, I will do that program in every September. People drop guns, I rehabilitate them and put them back to the society while the security agencies come to pick the gun. So I'm going to do it in a bigger way, whereby our youths are going to drop their gun, because not all of them enjoy committing crime. And then we take them, some of them will go back to school, some of them will learn trade, some of them will learn hard work, and so on and so forth. That is another way to reduce insecurity in those states. And I'm also going to put something like a whistleblowing. You give us information to any kidnapper or to arrest any armed robber, there is a certain amount to give to you to motivate you. You see, people will like to be involved in such a transaction. So that will lead us to people we cannot naturally reach where we want to get them arrested. So there are many reasons, many principles, theories that I'm going to apply when it comes to insecurity. Medical, we are going to do something about medical. Medical is just 3 things I also put on ground. We are going to employ more doctors. Over 5 million people in Edo State, we only have 200 doctors from the state level. So that cannot take care of over 5 million people. So we are going to employ more doctors. All the healthcare centers spread around the 192 wards, we are going to renovate them and put them in order. And the general hospitals in the local government, we are going to work on them. Talk about economy. The IGR of Edo State is at about 64 billion naira, as we are talking now, compared to other states like Lagos, Port Harcourt, that have over 500, which is half a trillion. So we are going to develop a principle that is going to boost up all our IGR, which is internal generating revenue. And the only way we can do that is for us to go into production. You know, in economy, you talk about production where you want to increase your your money, or you want to increase your profits. So it's not by tax, it's not multiple tax. So Edo State is not producing anything as we are talking now. Gone are the days when we have Edo State cement factory owned by the state, Ewu flour mill owned by the state, Bede Brewery owned by the state, Pharmaceutical something, I can't remember the full name in Edo, owned by the state. But today we are producing nothing. So if we must increase our IGR, where money will come, and those states must go back to where we should be producing something, and people will be coming to patronize and export such a thing out of the state and out of the country. So I'm supposed to go to partner with those in diaspora for trade and investment. I'm going to create a commission. If I'm sworn into the office, when I'm sworn into the office, one of the first things I'm going to do, I'm going to pass a law through the House of Assembly to create a commission or to create an agency for the people in that.
Well, it looks like we've lost Pastor Zena there. We're hoping we can get him back real quick. Pastor Zena, okay.
You with me?
Yeah, we're with you. Well, 1 second. You've reeled out a lot of things that you're going to be able to do in 100 days. It's amazing. I mean, road infrastructure, security, education, IGR. You're talking to increase your IGR, which stands at a little over 62 billion. You're saying you're going to increase that in 100 days. It's amazing the things, your ambition and the things you're planning to do. But when you talk about the challenges, I like to focus on that IGR a bit. The issues around internally generated revenue in Edo State, some say corruption, the attitude of the revenue collectors themselves points to a mindset. So what are you going to do about mindset reorientation or human capital development?
Okay, let me quickly say something here. It is true that the IGRO of Edo State is where it is today because corruption is involved. Those who are in charge of collecting the money and all that. And that is why maybe you have heard me when I said I am not going to arrest. Maybe you have seen that the Yahoo boys, or what you call internet fraud, they are not going to be arrested by anybody. These persons are going to be the people I am going to work with. Because anybody who have the brain to dupe somebody, have the brain to collect somebody's money in the account, ICT is what I'm going to build. Every revenue generated from Edo State is not going to be done manually again to enter individual pockets. It's going to be done in a form of the way it's done in a modernized world, whereby you do everything, it goes to the government account directly. So I'm going to establish ICT centers whereby these persons who are so talented that are in Edo State, our youth and teenagers, are going to be employed and they are going to work and make sure to survive, work in Edo State and make sure our revenues that we are generating are not entering individual pockets again. Now, like I said when I was talking, apart from the corruption, the major reason why the IGR of Edo State is also not growing is because the mega companies that ought to contribute their tax to Edo State are not being held responsible. It's only the poor man that is selling pure water that they are running after. Because those bourgeois are those who brought the government in power most time to power, and they don't pay their tax. If you measure some of the private companies in Edo State, assuming they can pay their taxes, we will have a better IGR. But the taxes you are seeing now, like 60-something million, they are paid by poor man. They are paid by the person hawking water because these are only the people that they can adjust to pay them. So what I'm going to do, I am going to make sure I will look into the taxation law that the bourgeois are going to be responsible. We are going to take from the bourgeois, not only the talakawas in the streets. So all the bourgeois, all the companies in Edo State will do the right thing according to the Edo State tax law. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that law works on both the poor, the rich, and it's going to be all-inclusive government. So that is what I'm going to do on that aspect. Now, talking about, if I may get you right, when you said, were you talking about the time? If I may get that place right, because it was breaking when you were saying that.
You said you'll be doing all of this in the first 100 days in office.
Most of those things are going to be done in partnership. Like I said, when I have visited like almost over 60-something nations in the world, it is not everything that the government use their money to do. In Edo State, there are people who have built hospitals and donated to the federal, the state government. We have more people like that who are ready to invest in Edo State healthcare center, invest in Edo roads. There is a man in Urumi who have single-handedly repaired road and tie road in the past in Edo State. Supposing such a man was encouraged, others will also follow likewise. So I am not going to just use the money in Edo State, the federal allocation, internal generating revenue to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to partner with individuals who are going to come aboard, also help me to handle some of these projects. Like, for example, this renovation. My boss, Apostle Johnson Suleiman, who I've been working with, he has built a computer center for Auchi Polytechnic, Federal Polytechnic Auchi, donated an ICT center. So people like that can come to AAU, for example, and do renovation with partnership with them. And some other, there's a great man called Sama Bini, single-handedly he have done some things in Edo State. But the problem is that some people are not recognized. Instead, the power that be are fighting them. So I'm going to partner with both those in the community and those in Edo State and those outside Edo State. So that will get it done. How to get it done is not a problem. I have been in business. Apart from being a pastor, I'm also a businessman. So how it's going to be done is not an issue at all. Just leave it for me until we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
Okay, we do have to start wrapping up, Pastor, because I know if we let you, you're a pastor, you will talk for hours. You would not be tired if we let you. I think one of the things that you said that really got to us here, and we've been taking notes since you said it, is about this Yahoo boys matter and how you're going to get people who have been enjoying dollars from fraudulent activities every day to suddenly drop all of that and join you and be learning ICT and you know, have a decent living. I can see you laughing about that. How long do you think that would take? I don't know how you plan, because it's a problem. It's a problem in your state, you know, and that reputation is going around the world, along with other reputations that are not very flattering. Human trafficking and
Rome was not built. Rome was not built in a day. Rome was not built in a day. I have had a conversation with most of those boys. Not all of them are enjoying doing it. Some of them are doing it just because maybe they are influenced to do it. Some of them are doing it because they are jobless. Some of them are so. I am being with them, talking with them. So I may not be able to get all of them at once, but I'm going to get all. The reason why I'm going to make use of this principle, please, if you watch where you are taking a certain drug on any image or any sickness, and that sickness is still increasing, it's a sign that the drug you are taking is a wrong drug. We have been arresting these boys. We have been taking them to EFCC, ICT, maybe DSS and all that. You discover that the trade, the business is increasing. That shows that that is not the solution to it. So this methodology that I'm bringing now may be a solution to it. So we are going to try it, that we are going to give them opportunity with the enjoying dollars, but that dollars is not every day. They can get money today, after 6 months, they will not get again. So we know how to bring them in. It's orientation, it's an ideology. You have to change their mindset. It's not gone that we change it. It has to be a constant, regular orientation so that they can change the way they think and they become useful to themselves. Because an idle man is a devil worship. So I'm going to make use of them, and I'm going to make sure that they live well and fulfill their life. They don't enjoy doing that work, and they don't enjoy going to police station and every day. Lastly, on that matter.
Thank you.
Lastly, on that matter, okay, I would have let you know that the people, the money collected from them on Bay doesn't go to the IGRO of the state. So why would they be taking them to station? Another person will steal for another person to steal.
Thank you, Mr. Azeme Azena, who's a pastor and seeking the #1 office in Edo State, governorship candidate of the NNPP in the forthcoming Edo elections. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, and we wish you well.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you. Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you too. And we do have 1 or 2 feedbacks from you, our viewer. We have this one from Pastor Law Alpha C. He says, the security agencies should be concerned about the spirit of desperation displayed so far by different political parties ahead of the Guba elections. Leadership isn't by force.
Festus Akimboyewa says, well, Professor Udenta is a renowned intellectual. We must not forget that he is also a politician. The Obasanjo administration he's referring to did not turn Nigeria into paradise.
Well, that's where we'll have to draw the curtains on the program today. I want to thank you for letting us be a part of your day. Remember, you do have a role to play in moving this nation to where it ought to be. Every one of us sat from that little corner where you are. The top of the hour, we'll be taking you to Zamfara State, where there's a commissioning of a renovated general hospital. Location is the Kaura Namoda local government area in Zamfara State. That will be coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, thank you again for letting us be a part of your morning. I'm Neota Igbe.
I'm Kayla Magwa. Have a great day ahead.